Now that you've seen how Facebook applications behave and what they look like, it's time to look under the hood at the background of the technologies that are supporting this rather remarkable tool. In this section, we will explore the technologies, the basic technologies that make it work. These are industry standard technologies used in a variety of applications. These are not unique Facebook technologies. These are things such as SQL for accessing relational data, things such as PHP, the programming and scripting language, tools like XHTML and HTML, cascading style sheets, and REST. All of these are tools that are common to many, many of the applications that make the modern web what it is today. In the next section, we'll look at Facebook technologies that were developed by Facebook, tools such as FBML, the Facebook markup language, and the Facebook API. These tools are the Facebook tools that are built on top of the industry standard tools. Now, for documentation about these tools, you go to developersfacebook.com. This is the link at the bottom of most Facebook pages. You don't have to be logged in to Facebook to get to this page. And on this page, you go to documentation. You can go to it here. You can go to it up here. There are many ways to get to the documentation wiki. And the basic documentation is all here. Now, if you haven't used a wiki for documentation, you're in the minority because that's how a great deal of documentation is developed and distributed today. There's a discussion board. There are many, many tools here. But let me walk you just around basically the structure of a wiki page. There are major topics here. There's a search panel down here. And if you're into printing something off, there is always a link for a printable version so that you can take the page you're looking at and print it in a version that is optimized for printing. So for many people, printable version is one of the key links on this page for getting to know the documentation and for being able to keep the documentation. But the problem with printing documentation out is revealed by the bottom of the page, which shows you the date and time the page was last modified. And you will see that most pages in the wiki have been modified fairly recently, whenever fairly recently is. It is a work in progress. And as soon as you produce a printable version of that page, then you run the risk of being out of date. And if you want to refer to it, you really should go back and check what the date on the current version of the page is and whether you are out of date. Having said that, for the basics of Facebook, you often can rely on older documentation because the changes that are really substantive to Facebook, like the new profile page that has just been introduced after the last iteration of the new profile page, which happened a year before this, those changes are fairly significant, and then we stay sort of at a plateau for a while. But still, you can't go back to the very earliest pages. So if you print a version, its lifespan is really not going to be very long, and my suggestion is if you are working on a problem and you need the printed resource because it's easier to work with, print it out, work on it, solve your problem, implement what it is you're trying to do, and then recycle the paper. Don't keep it around because then you run the risk of spending time writing code to the specifications that no longer apply. So on a standard Wikipedia page, you've got the last modification date, which is critically important, and you have a printable version, and you have a search box over here. The documentation for Facebook technologies are here in the reference, and they're split up into these various sections here. The API itself, FBML, and these other three, which we will talk about much less frequently, because for most people developing a Facebook application from scratch, you'll be using FBML and the API. And that's where you'll mostly be.